Hey, everybody, it's the Plant-Based Business Hour. I'm Elysabeth Alfano. Great to have you with me. A little bit of an early time today. We're starting at 11 a.m. Pacific instead of our always 1 p.m. Pacific because I have a very special guest today from England, the UK. What we're going to be talking about is chicken. What really are the conditions in chicken farms according to KFC? Well, we'll put lots of holes into that theory that they've put forth. And we'll also talk about plant-based chicken, which is all the rage in the year 2022. So I want to bring on my guest today, the CEO of VFC, Vegan Fried Chicken, VFC, Matthew Glover, all the way from the UK. How are you, Matthew?
I'm good. Thank you for having me on the podcast again.
Yes, I'm very happy to have you here with me. Okay, so let's give everyone the backdrop. VFC, Vegan Fried Chicken, launched about a year and a half ago. Is that right?
Yeah, so it was born through the lockdown situation of COVID originally. So I hooked up with Adam, who's my business partner, and he ran a restaurant in the UK, in York, where I live. And he had this amazing product, this vegan fried chicken. So long story cut short, we decided to set the company up together and produce the product that he was making in his restaurant. And we launched in December 2020, about 5 days before Christmas, which was a weird time to launch a company. But yeah, it went very well. And we've had a lot of success in the early stages. We got into Tesco, which is the biggest retailer in the UK within the first year of going live, which was amazing. We're also in Sainsbury's, and we're in Asda, and we're hoping to conquer the United States as well, a bit like the Beatles.
Yes,
that's the plan.
Yeah, just like the Beatles. When will you be in the US?
So we're already there. So you can buy VFC on Veggie, VEJII, and also on GTFO. And we're also in food service. So there's certain universities, and don't ask me which ones, but we're in food service already in a few places. And then we've just recently been signed up by UNFI, which is great, and Cisco as well from a food service perspective. So we've got a small team in the US, but they're making big strides. They're just getting things in place so that we can really start launching fully over the next 12 months.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And for those who want to try it, they can go to Shop Veggie, VEJII, as Matthew was saying, shopveggie.com. I did know that they launched you in the US, which is very exciting. And they are a, direct to consumer, ship anywhere across the country. So you don't have to wait for what is primarily nuggets. Is that right? Or what are the other iterations of chicken that you're working on?
So we do a popcorn chicken, which I think is generally perceived as being sort of our best product. And I don't know if you saw that Veg News, they put their 26 best vegan chicken products out, and we scored number 1, which I was really, really pleased about. So we also do bites, which are like a 40 gram, like a chicken piece. And then we do, you call them fillets, I call them fillets. But yeah, so like more for putting into a burger scenario.
Yeah, I did see that Veg News article, which is really just so exciting.
That was a surprise.
You didn't know it was coming.
Yeah, we didn't bribe anybody neither. It was amazing.
Oh my gosh. Okay, but what brings us together is not that you have vegan fried chicken or that even you are, according to Veg News, the tastiest vegan fried chicken. It's more of what you've been doing recently to counteract KFC. So now one would, predict from the name that you are really taking KFC head on, but you've done so in more than just food. Recently, you've launched a video. Tell me why you've launched this disruptive video about the living conditions of chickens.
What happened was we'd seen this video that was being shared online. It was a paid promotion from KFC, and they'd hired Nico O'Milana, who's a YouTube Instagram influencer in the UK. He'd run for mayor of London last year, so he's quite well known with a lot of the younger generation. And they'd invited him in to visit one of their farms that supplies KFC. And honestly, it just looked like the birds were in a holiday camp. It was like, the conditions were just too perfect. They deliberately filmed the birds when they're maybe 15 days old. So they're small and they're cute looking. And, when you pan around inside the barn, it looked like they got plenty of space, which they do at at that age. And the farmer, they called him a chicken whisperer. There's a lot of little clever little turns of phrases that they used through the video. And they were putting down new bedding. They were talking about swings and bells and enrichment and all of this. It just didn't ring true because we've been and filmed inside these factory farms previously, and we just knew that they'd sugar-coated the conditions. So what we did, I was just straight onto Google. I was like, can we find out which farm this is? Because it just didn't seem right. We'd seen some signs on the video that it was Moy Park, which is one of the biggest suppliers, a bit like a Purdue type company, but in the UK. So we were Googling Tony, Moy Park, KFC, and we found this news item that about a particular farm. And so we started researching it more, looking on Google Earth, you're trying to work out whether or not from Google Earth it looked like it could be the same farm. And then we decided to go in. We did a recce to begin with. So it was literally looking, at what we were seeing on the farm and comparing it to the video footage. And we were 100% convinced it was the same farm. So we then went back in and filmed the reality of what it is like for the birds, not this sugar-coated version that KFC had portrayed. Yeah, that's it. So, and we found that it was
part of KFC's Behind the Bucket commitment.
I don't know if you can hear that.
They invited Nico, a YouTube.
You can hear that. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the video. We decided to compare what Nico was being shown and what KFC were portraying to the reality and cutting from one to the other. And we produced this video. Hugely risky for us as a brand. And I realize it's not what normal food brands do. But, it's why we set the company up. We feel very committed to exposing the truth about factory farming. So we decided to release the video, and it's had over 6 million views so far, Elizabeth, and it's still going.
Yeah, that's incredible. For those of you who are not listening on podcast and you're here with us live on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, I'm not doing all of the audio because it doesn't always translate to being recorded if it's not the same website page, which it's not now. So, but I'm just showing some of the conditions, hardly extra room for the chickens to roam around, a lot of dead chickens that we're seeing. Look at, here's an image of Matthew with just a sea of chickens behind him. And then, of course, many of the chickens not well, not able to walk, missing feathers or dead.
Yeah, and I think the point that we were trying to get across is that this is, for KFC, a flagship farm, one that they're proud of. And, they really put across this idea that this is great chicken welfare. And we really wanted to say that even if this is the best, and this is a brand new facility that's been built. It's part of Moy Park's Agricultural Academy. The particular barn that we had viewing platforms so that they could bring people in to see. And yet, there's still a huge amount of birds that were suffering, a lot of dead birds sort of scattered around. And, the KFC on their own website, on the report, in terms of their behind the bucket sort of commitment to better chicken welfare, they admit on their website that 4.37% of birds, that's the mortality rate. Now, so if you look at just that one farm that we looked at, which has got 6 barns in there, it's got over 300,000 birds. You're looking at 13,000 plus birds that are dying, suffering to death just on that one farm. And so it just, for us, we just felt compelled to debunk, this video. And we've now had over 4 times more views of our video than the original KFC video, which is great, great news, and hopefully it'll make these companies think twice about, this sort of sugarcoating sort of animal welfare going forward.
100%. Let me ask you a couple questions. Have you had any response from KFC? Have you had any response from the influencer who was paid to do that KFC?
Yeah. So the Guardian in the UK launched the investigation, and so there was a statement from Moy Park who basically said it was there's nothing wrong, that this is sort of standard conditions. Nico said that what he'd seen is not what he was shown, which is fair enough. And then KFC basically said, we take chicken welfare very, very it's very, very important, and we will investigate this and speak to the supplier. And that's it.
Right. So, and probably that's the best you're going to get. That's probably par for the course. I would expect. But what kind of reactions have you gotten from potentially, let's say, KFC consumers? Do you ever hear from anybody who says, "Oh, I used to eat at KFC and I won't anymore," or "I had no idea," or what's the consumer reaction?
Yeah, so the video was shared on the $1 Million Vegan platform, and that's where it's had over 5 million views, and it's had thousands of comments. And if you read through those comments, there's scores of people, hundreds of people that are saying, "Oh, that's it, I'm going vegetarian or vegan," or "That's it, I'm not eating chicken anymore," or "I'm not eating KFC anymore." So it's definitely had an impact. We're not finished with the story either. It's going to get shared again, and we're going to keep pushing it. We've got sort of some other ideas up our sleeves, which I can't really share at the moment. But we want to keep the story going because ultimately, as a brand, we feel that it's not just a case of creating delicious food. We need to keep reminding people why they need to be eating what we're producing. And it's something I feel passionately about. I wish more other vegan food brands or plant-based food brands would also not just produce food and hope that that it's going to sell, but remind people the reasons why they should be buying this product rather than the competition.
And you particularly have an animal welfare story. Some brands have a carbon footprint story. I mean, they could also choose animal welfare because it really is both, obviously. But some brands have some impact story to go along with their food, but not everyone does, or they don't hit it home as much as they could. I'll just share a little tidbit from Jeremy Collar, who is the managing director of Collar Capital, and then also the founder really of Fair Farm Animal Investment Risk and Return. And he says just one chicken company alone, Tyson, produces more excrement than the entire United States. We saw some images there on YouTube. So it's pretty clear that these chickens don't have like a flush toilet situation going on. So you think just one company producing more excrement than all the people in the United States, and that excrement's going right into your land and water. There's no treatment situation, and there are no cush toilets. So, just there's the carbon footprint. There's the animal welfare humane footprint, and then there's also like our welfare in general footprint. So lots to consider. Okay, well, maybe let's talk a little bit about the product though as well. I think of 2022 as the year of the chicken. I mean, just there's so much chicken going on right now. I won't mention competitors, but I wondered if you could comment on are you feeling like it's a crowded space? Obviously there's an enormous chicken market yet to conquer. So there's still room for all of these people, but are you feeling that's tight out there in terms of competition?
No, absolutely. From a movement perspective, it's great news, and from a consumer perspective, it's great news. There's never been a better time to be able to experiment with different brands and find products that you like. I think in terms of, the competition out there, clearly, if the categories are growing at 5 or 10% a year, but the competition is growing at 100% a year, then it's going to be tough for those brands to really convince, buyers to allocate them more shelf space and for consumers to make that right decision. So yeah, it's going to be tough. This is why I feel strongly that as food brands, we also need to be, the categories are not magically expanding on their own. We've got to keep reminding people of why, whether that's environmental reasons, whether it's the excrement thing you were talking about, whether it's climate change, whether it's health reasons, or whether it's animal rights, animal welfare. because I think, the animal rights movement generally has been like a free marketing agency for a lot of these brands for many years, creating, more vegans and vegetarians, creating more flexitarians. I think even if brands that are, maybe not willing to push the animal thing as much as what VFC is doing, at least support some of the groups that are getting this message out, because, we need to, we've still got so far to go. I really feel that. In the UK, we're making progress. When I've been in the US, it's been so. When I've been to restaurants, even in LA and New York, it's like there's not a lot of options there at the moment. So the demand doesn't seem to be filtering through. That's my view anyway, Elizabeth. I don't know how you feel about that, but.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that up with you. So you feel like demand is steady and not growing, or just like there's more demand, but the retail outlets aren't supplying? If you could share a little bit more on what your thoughts are there.
Yeah, I don't think the categories are growing at the pace that they need to grow to support, the investment that has been gone into this space over the last couple of years. I mean, there's huge excitement and there's a lot of innovation and there's a lot of new brands that are coming out there. But no, I don't think that the demand is growing fast enough, being frank with you. I think there's going to be a lot of consolidation. If there's 100 vegan chicken brands out there at the moment, they're not all going to succeed. We might end up with 5 or 6, once it's all settled down. So, but like I say, I think we need to collectively, so with Veganuary, I started off working on the demand side of things. How do we create more vegans? How do we create more interest? How do we reduce the demand for these products? And then I switched my career over to Veg Capital and VFC, start working on the supply side. But I'm sort of caught where I'm not really sure what's the most, obviously they're both important. We need these great products, but we also need to keep reminding people and switching as many people over as possible.
I think education is such a big part of it. So still there's that message, that environmental message, that animal welfare message. I do a lot in the capital markets, the financial world, and we're constantly educating on the connection between our global food supply system and climate change, the environment. And I never lead with animal welfare. And it's wonderful for me to go to these finance conferences and to tell people about climate change, and 14.5% of all greenhouse gas emissions, according to the United Nations. And many say that that's very low, come from animal agriculture. 37% of methane, the most nefarious of the gases, come from cows alone. I love to share these statistics. A Beyond Meat burger uses 99% less water, 93% less land, 90% less greenhouse gas emissions, 40% less energy. So as soon as I make an argument for an inefficient system that requires more time, more land, more water, ultimately more money, they always come to me and say, and don't forget animals. And I love it that it comes from them, because if it comes from me, I feel like they won't take me as seriously, even though that's why I'm there. It comes from them, and it's almost life affirming, in that I don't expect these people to go beyond their wallet. And when you make a compelling financial argument, then they start to see the impact of other things. So all that is to say, yes, back to what you were saying, education is such a big component of growing the category. I think of the SPINS numbers that were made available to me at the end of December for 2021. And although burgers were going down, seafood and chicken were going up. Hence, the entire plant-based category was going up. What are you seeing in terms of your growth numbers?
Yeah, so in the UK, we're seeing, I'm afraid I'm more sort of focused on the UK market at the moment. Interestingly, plant-based chicken in the UK has been going downhill over the last couple of years. But virtually all of the other categories are growing, but it may be 5 or 10% is typical, rather than the faster growth that we feel that we need. I mean, in terms of VFC, the rate of sales really good. There's some really strong players here. Quorn obviously have been doing it for so many years, and they have the economies of scale and the relationships. So, and they're a great sort of target for us to be aiming to compete with. There's Linda McCartney, which is a brand over here as well. I mean, some of their existing products are incredibly successful. And then you've got brands like Birdseye. I think you have a Birdseye brand in the US, but it's not the same as over here. So it's more like fish products that they sell in the UK. But they brought out a vegan range called Green Cuisine. So again, they have really strong influence over the supermarkets here. So you've got these sort of 3 established brands, and then you've got all of these new sort of challenger brands that are coming in and trying to get a piece of the pie, so to speak. So that's our brand. For those on audio, you're not going to be seeing those pictures. But yeah, no, we've got distribution in Sainsbury's, in Tesco's, in Asda, and some of the independent stores as well. And we're talking to a lot of the other retailers. So it's about building out the distribution as much as we possibly can, and continuing to advertise. It's not just we don't just talk about animals all the time. We're also talking about sustainability, the environment, and really how delicious the product is as well. Sorry.
Yeah. It just seems that, making a impact statement is so core to what we all do, no matter what that impact statement is, be it environment or animals or our own personal health. It just, here you talk about on your website, climate breakdown and forests, how much deforestation, which of course is a big part of the climate change number, why animals are impacting negatively climate change, is all the deforestation we do to grow crops, these foods that have fiber and they have protein. Do we give that food to people? No, we give that food to animals, which makes no sense. Then they need land, water, time, cut down more trees. They need more food. Still not giving that food to people, giving it to animals. So just really inefficient with the resources that we have. Okay, but you mentioned something that's interesting to me. You're saying well, maybe you're not seeing the growth in plant-based chicken like you wanted or would like to see in the Financial Times. And I remember you mentioned this on LinkedIn. You said, the Financial Times is talking about the trough of disillusionment. And I wondered if you felt that there was any credence to that statement. That plant-based was interesting and exciting and it was something new, and then it had this peak and is now in a trough of disillusionment, like maybe it's not all that great. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so I don't think we're in a trough, and you made I remember you commenting as well and arguing against this. So I feel that that there has been a lot of people that have tried plant-based products and maybe felt that the options there are just not quite good enough yet. So I think the idea with the trough of disillusionment is that, you get an uptake, you get a lot of interest, then it slows down a bit, but then there is a period where it sort of levels off, but then it goes again. So I'm interested in your view on this. I think there's possibility that could be the case. I mean, I'm seeing through Veg Capital so much innovation that is coming that's not really on the shelves yet. So it could very well be that the next generation of products really are going to hit the nail on the head for consumers, and we'll get a much faster growth rate than what we are in 2022. I'm also mindful that all the figures that we're looking at, it's been a real topsy-turvy couple of years, hasn't it, with COVID? So I think it's difficult necessarily to look at the numbers in isolation and try and understand what's happening. But what's your view?
Well, I agree. Really hard to get a handle on the numbers. But again, I go back to the SPINS data, which shows that the category is growing as a whole about I've seen that 6.8 and 6.3 once they adjusted things, but let's say slightly under 7. So the category is growing as a whole. That growth comes on top of 2020, which was an incredible year that you could never repeat. It was an aberration in so many ways because of COVID and that kind of demand and people stocking up on food and people focusing on their health in a way that they never had before. So I see it not just from SPINS data, see it not falling off from that huge year, but increasing on top of it. So that tells me that there's growth on top of growth. And again, you could never have the 40% growth that you had in 2020. Again, that's not a sustainable rate. So I feel like I'm happy that we didn't lose that and we maintained it. I see that a lot of people try it. Now we're in inflationary times. Now that means that meat is raising in price, but also plant-based still remains more expensive. So that price parity becomes even more critical as people are watching their dollars. So I feel like, one step up, two steps back, five steps up. So you have people who've tried it and then they think, well, this is a little expensive, or, it's good. I like it, but it's not all that, maybe there was hype there. I have nothing to back this up. I'm just my personal feelings. But at the same time, as those people might not be repeat purchasing as often as we would like, although they do repeat, that's my understanding. You have this whole new group of people that is just getting word. I mean, the coverage in USA Today, New York Times, Financial Times, Bloomberg about the emissions coming from animal agriculture alone in 2022 has been astounding. There's almost an article on animal agriculture's impact to climate change weekly in 2022. So people are getting the message about this connection in a way they never had before. So I think more and the puddle of people who are willing to try is getting bigger, and the initial people maybe are still wanting a little bit more from the products, but you and I both see how much investment is in the pipeline coming for that better technology. So I feel like we are widening the net and getting more people. And so it's one step up, two steps back, five steps up.
Yeah, and the younger generations as well are adopting it, and as they get older, and their kids are even more likely than them to take it on board. I think the future's looking really good. Obviously,
yeah.
I think there needs to be, we need to get more of the major stakeholders on board. So I think there needs to be more work done from a lobbying, from a government perspective. There's a lot of work going on in the UK, and there's a few different agencies working on labeling from a climate change, but also from the other environmental factors. So with VFC, we had our products assessed with a company called Mondra, and what they do is they look at the environmental impact, not just on climate change from carbon, but they look at land use, water pollution, and water pollution and water use as well. So they look at those four different metrics, and we were able to then compare that with chicken. Anyway, our product came out as an A. Now we know that a lot of the animal-based products would be like C or less. So can we get supermarkets, can we get the government to start making this mandatory, that you've got to label your products in terms of climate change and environmental impact, to make it easier for consumers to make a switch, so that when they're looking at two types of breaded chicken nuggets, one's plant-based and one's animal-based, one's an A-rated and one's a C-rated, if we can really push the needle in that direction, that will make such a huge difference in people making the right decisions. So I think a lot of that's going to happen over the next 5-10 years as well.
Yeah, I would love to see that as well. I think that's so critical as we look at all the different ways we can compare, so we understand apples to apples. Of course, it's ounces per pound, British pound, or for American dollar, but it's also that carbon pricing. And for me, it's also, I want to see, fiber. There's no fiber in meat. So now plant-based options are going to be processed. So they're not going to have a huge amount of fiber, but there is some fiber in plant-based options. There's no trimethylene N oxide. There's no animal heme. There's no antibiotics. There's no hormones. So there's lots of things we can be looking at that aren't currently on the label. No one's talking about how much excrement chickens produce, for example, and plant-based options don't. So, there's the excrement scale, I guess, as well. I don't think we'll be seeing that in grocery stores anytime soon. But you lead me down the questioning of health claims. So many people think of plant-based options as being healthier. Are you under criticism because your products are fried, or what's your take on that? I mean, you're fast food, so what are people expecting? But what's your take?
Look, we don't even talk about health claims with VFC because, ultimately it's a fried chicken product. We don't think people are buying fried chicken for health reasons. So we don't
Right.
see personally why people would buy vegan fried chicken for health reasons. It's an indulgent product. Yeah, I think we probably ought to maybe have a look into how it compares as a like-for-like product. But this is not a substitute for a kale salad. So it's something that as a product we'd recommend people having occasionally. It's not breakfast, lunch, and dinner type of product. So we've invested through Veg Capital in a lot of sort of more veg forward products. That and those brands really, they talk about plant-based rather than vegan, which is what we're doing with VFC. And they're also talking more about the health angle a lot more. So we have a pie company. It's more like savory pies. So they're not quite the same in the US. But Esther, who's the managing director there, she's identified that do you get one of your 5 a day? Do you have that sort of way of describing foods? Anyway, you're supposed to get 5 a day vegetables in your diet in the UK, and one of their pies gets 1 a day. But if you put that with some broccoli, some carrots, and potatoes, you could get 5 of your 5 a day just in one meal by having a pie. So,
that's good. Yeah. No, I think I know it's counterintuitive because nobody eats fried chicken thinking that they're going to be healthy. But I think there's a healthier claim there that I wish our industry as a whole would get behind. Specifically, I guess I'll call out Beyond, but also Impossible, et cetera. The industry came down so hard in saying that those products aren't healthy. And I would really argue that health is a spectrum. And while they're not a carrot, they're healthier. They're, again, no trimethylene N-oxide animal heme, have a little bit of fiber, no antibiotics, no hormones, no cholesterol. Oh my gosh, no cholesterol. Yeah. So, and then you've got the environment, and then you've got animal welfare. So not necessarily in that order, but I mean, in addition to, you have those arguments. So, I would be curious, like how a vegan fried chicken compares to a regular fried chicken. And I don't know, just.
Yeah, honestly, we've not done the comparison yet, so maybe it's something we need to work on. Look, my motivation's always been about animals and the environment, less so about the health reasons for going this way. So it's probably my bad, really, in as much as it's not being a focus for the brand. And also a lot of the existing vegan brands, they do focus more on health and sustainability. We've said, okay, well, if everybody else is doing that thing, why don't we do the animals and the environment? And we found that the buyers in supermarkets really, they like that, the fact that we're not just a Me Too, same as type of brand that because a lot of the buyers, they're getting so many sausages and burgers and meatballs and the same sort of products sent to them because there is so much competition, particularly in the UK. So if we can stand out being a bit crazy like we are, a bit sassy like we are, focusing on the animals, it does make us stand out when we're talking to buyers, and they like that. They're embracing it.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. One of your let's see if I can get to it on your homepage. Yeah, I'm going to share again because I like it so much. Your advertising really is kind of, I won't say in your face, I'll just say really kind of calls out in a very smart, fun, and catchy way. So now we're looking, for those on audio, we're looking at the homepage of vfcfoods.com. Food that takes no prisoners. So we all know what we're talking about here, factory farms. There was a slogan. Yeah, I love this. We set out to make great tasting food that doesn't cost a wing and a leg. Man, if that doesn't just say exactly what it is.
We paneled that phrase. There's some software that we use to judge, mainstream consumers. And there was messages that we tried, such as, vegan fried chicken, nobody died. And that particularly, that phrase, it didn't score very well. It was a bit off-putting for people. But we tried food that doesn't cost a wing and a leg, and it scored really high with a non-vegan audience. They saw the humor in it. They realized that it was a subtle sort of underlying message. And we put that on billboards around London, and it got a great uptake. So you can push the needle a little bit and just remind people in a sort of clever, sort of sassy, funny way, and they embrace it.
Yeah, I think so clever. You're hitting it really over the head but you're making people laugh, and so you can get away with it. So, I mean, if there's any takeaway I would have from everybody is that take a note from Matthew's great advertising, because it has been really clever. As we kind of wrap up here, I think it's interesting you're saying like people aren't going for health, and that they're saying like, no, I get it. It's fried chicken, and I'm going for the environment and animals. And I love that. And you do really stand out for that messaging, which is so strong. You come from a very unique background. So as the founder of Veganuary, for anybody who doesn't know what that is, oh my gosh, in the US and the UK and around the globe, getting people interested in sort of new year, new me. So go vegan, try it, get your health back, take control of your health. Veganuary, just you took that from nothing to this worldwide movement. Then you were also involved with $1 Million Vegan, also doing videos around celebrities that are going to go vegan, thinking about it, et cetera. So reaching out to people like the Pope to see if they'll go vegan. And then you Veg Capital. So in the finance world of doing venture capital to help fund these businesses. So completely different than the other two. And now VFC, a food company. So you've been part of like almost all of the equations to move the food supply chain needle. And I'm wondering if you could share your particular perspective on predictions, where we go from here.
Yeah, when you remind me of all those things, God, I've been doing too much. I could do with a vacation.
Yeah, I'll meet you on the beach. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, my prediction for where we're going would be, look, I think in the early days, I was, I saw this as being like a 100-meter race. How do we get to the finishing line as quick as we possibly can? Yeah. And, I wanted to see a vegan world in my lifetime. I think the older I get and the wiser I get, I'm realizing that that's not necessarily going to happen. So I like to think of that I'm actually in a relay race, and I'm probably running the second leg, and we all are. All of us as activists today are running that second leg. And we're going to hand the baton over to somebody else who's going to run another leg, and they're going to hand the baton over to somebody else, but somebody will get to the finishing line. But they would never have been able to get there for the work that we're doing right now. So that's how I reconcile, the time and the effort that I put into this. I don't have a straight answer as to, the way it's going. I mean, obviously it's growing. The movement's growing. We're seeing certain countries, it's expanding. The writing's on the wall in terms of the environmental arguments. So it's looking really positive. But there's a lot of uncertainty. Is climate change going to get us before we convince everybody? I just don't know the answers to that, Elizabeth. But for now, I'm just going to keep my head down and keep doing what I'm doing and try and be as effective as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm. A body in motion stays in motion, nose to the grindstone, eyes to the sky. I do tell people that I think we're going to have change in my lifetime. I don't think it'll be a 0% animal products, but I think we will shift to not a majority of animal products in the food supply system in my lifetime. Mm-hmm. That's the goal I work on every day. You've been in this now for quite a while. What do you wish you knew 10 years ago that you know now?
Oh, I wished I'd bought Beyond Meat stock at the beginning. Yeah, I know it's gone down a bit now, but I think I'd still be up overall. So that's the main. And Oatly, I think I wished I'd put £1,000 in each of those as seed capital.
Yeah, spoken like a true venture capitalist. Okay, I like it. If you are having a bad day and you are not seeing the results in the diminishment of animal suffering like you would like to see, what is the phrase that you tell yourself to get yourself back in the groove?
Oh, I have no idea. I don't know. I take the dog for a walk. Is that a good answer? It's not the answer that you're looking for, but just to recharge, get out into nature, and that tends to cheer me up. I'll go for a run.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah. For me, it usually has some expletives involved. Just, I'm more committed than ever when I have those kind of days where the animal welfare is just off the charts in terms of shockingly bad.
What is that phrase about a small group of individuals that change the world? I can't remember it, but that one is probably where I am. Never doubt that a small group of committed citizens. Do you know it, Elizabeth? But you know what I mean?
Yeah. I want to say it's from Margaret Mead.
Yeah, that's right.
And it is never doubt that I'm gonna have it in the show notes, and I'll put it up today. It's a great quote about a small amount of people really can change the world. And we intend to do that here. If you're running around, you're super busy, you don't have time for lunch, besides VFC, what is your go-to snack?
Curries at the moment. Eating a lot of curry. Yeah.
Is that a snack? Okay.
Oh, as a snack. Okay. So we've got a brand that we've invested in called Mummy Meegs. They've got a vegan chocolate egg that's coming out very soon, cream egg. So they're amazing. So that would be something that I would go to, any of their products. Yeah, I like crisps. You call them chips in the US, but there's a brand over here that does a cheese and onion, and it's the only sort of vegan plant-based cheese and onion crisp. So I would go for that as well. Actually, I'm eating too many snacks, to be honest. I need to lose a bit of weight at the moment.
Oh my word. Yeah. I need to do more running and less snacking. Although yesterday I got my hands on, I'd never seen them before. I want to say that the title might be Meatless Mission, but I probably have that wrong. And they were Girl Scout cookie type cookies, which you probably don't even know what I mean by this. Do you? Girl Scout cookies? No. Okay. So every year around this time, Girl Scouts go out and sell these Girl Scout branded cookies. And I used to always eat the peanut butter ones. But they have a mint chocolate cookie that is really great. And I haven't touched them obviously since I've gone vegan. And then here they landed on my lap, this little sample pack of 2, thank God only 2, because I ate them in like less than 2 minutes. They were both so good, but these mint chocolate chip covered cookies, oh, they're so good. Yeah, must go running. Must go running.
It's funny, when I went vegan 11 years ago and I didn't know what I was doing, I ate so healthy. I mean, I was just eating hummus and falafel and, vegetables. I was making soup and this type of stuff. And I was so healthy for a while. But gradually over the last 11 years, the world's changed and there's vegan versions of everything now. So, which we need to develop them, but we've also got to make sure as activists, we keep ourselves healthy as well, don't we?
It's such a great comment. And, the power of vegetables in their raw form, salad with beans. Salad with beans. And I love that kind of food, but I feel compelled as somebody in the vegan food industry to try every new food. So I'm just, I'm taking it, one for the team, you guys. I'm trying everything for you. Oh my gosh. Matthew Glover, I want to thank you for all that you do. Founder of Veganuary, founder of, with of course, a huge team to help, or at least a team to help you, but $1 Million Vegan, Veg Capital, and now VFC. Taking VFC to the public for animals, not holding back on that animal welfare message, putting out undercover investigative videos like the one you have just done. Everybody, you can go to their YouTube channel if you'd like to see it in full. That's going to be the VFC channel. So just go to YouTube. You'll find it. V as in Victor, F as in Frank, C as in chicken. You'll go to that channel. Watch that video that's already gotten over 6 million views if you include the views from YouTube and $1 Million Vegan, calling out KFC for animal welfare issues, and that KFC said there were no animal welfare issues. I'm overstating, but the fact that egregiously they put out a video saying that everything's really just fine is even more duplicitous for the end consumer. So Matthew, taking it to the streets, standing up for animals, taking no prisoners, and it doesn't cost a wing and a leg. I thank you for all that you do.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for giving me a platform to talk about these things. So thank you for everything that you do in raising awareness and everything you're doing in the vegan investing space. And so it's great to hang out, Elizabeth. Thank you.
Matthew, don't go anywhere. Everybody else on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and LinkedIn. I will see you all next week. Thank you for everything you do, everybody. Keep the course. Stay at it.